Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
Well, buddy,
When does Mosconi Cup start? Today?
I think 2026 kicks off
I
in
hope there is a
Orlando.
26.
Well, wow, that's a good. That's a whole other conversation for another day. I
It
mean,
is.
looking at the amount of attendees there, I'm not so sure, buddy.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's but the people who were there were loud. It still seemed like there was plenty of atmosphere, but there were plenty of empty seats. And it's kind of interesting because if I'm a fan and I've watched the Mosconi Cup for the last 6 years, I'm going the first day because it's the only day you're guaranteed to see 4 matches.
Yeah. Well, and for the last few years, it's the only day you really have any hope, and it may not last for very long, but at least you got a little bit of hope when it's 0-0. You know what I mean? Like we got a tied ball game, boys.
It's 0-0. You're still in the game. It's like we had the show the other day with Ray and Daz, and it's like I always used to laugh about before the Super Bowl, when the 2 Super Bowl teams were figured out, and one was a heavy favorite over that 2-week buildup, the pundits would have you convinced that it was an even game.
Yeah.
Because it's part of their job. Plus, I think you kind of talk yourself into it. And we were kind of doing the same thing. We were kind of, this could be tighter. A team with experience, 2 rookies.
It's a race to 5. Anything can happen. They're world-class players,
So we went into yesterday morning convinced that this was even money for at least a day or two, and it turned out to be, exactly what it's been for all the exact same reasons, and it's the first time that I watched it and thought this event is in trouble.
In trouble?
Yeah, I think. Not like dire straits, but it needs to turn around somehow, and it needs to do it fast. And it's not having a bunch of South American, deported Europeans or whatever on the team. That's not the answer, and it's not. Every year we get the people who say, it should be all of America, include the Canadians, and all this kind of stuff. No, that's not what. That's not what fans want. That's what fans who want to see a closer match made
3 Canadians.
But if you're looking for the atmosphere that gets 3,000, 2,000, 2,500 fans, it's U.S. again. So let's forget all those arguments. Those I'm not paying attention to. But there's something that needs to be fixed for sure.
If you can get when Jesus Atencio joins the team, I think if you were to go and bring in those Latin American fans, they can get a little loud, And so from that standpoint, I think that would be a value add to the atmosphere, at least in Orlando, and it may end up being a 1-year Band-Aid because I don't know how they would travel, But I think like you gotta if as long as it's more respectable. And the fans who are going to go buy tickets, welcome them in, as far as like, embrace them as far as being on the team, then, there has to be hope, and after the second match yesterday, all the hope was gone,
It was gone. No, it was gone. And that's a whole different topic of conversation. But, listen, I'm still kind of I'm all for Torsten. He's an American citizen. Older, but he still has plenty of game. And
love Thorsten, but he's he don't got the personality and the, I don't think he checks off the matchroom boxes.
I'm talking about win. You can get the 5 most boring Americans in the world out there. If they win the Mosconi Cup, I'd be the happiest person in the world. So,
well, you got like 3 of the most boring Americans out there as it stands.
I'm still kind of on the fence about this whole Jesus thing, where he shows up, starts playing 1 year, and the next year it's welcome to America. I don't like it to be too forced. It was a little less forced to me with Federer because there weren't a lot of options for the kid. But let's not end up with a team where no one was born in the U.S. we're the land of welcoming everybody with open arms, and I'm all for that. But let's not
Well,
get too far
the
off the rails.
the problem is you already set that standard with Federer, so it's like you can
To me, again, Federer was a little bit of an exception. To me, he was still a little bit of an exception because he was banned in Europe. All this kind of he had kind of nowhere else to go, and he's the top player in the world. Okay, so you got to
sure.
find a place for him to play. Not the case with Jesus. You're trying to jam him into this to fix a leak in the boat.
And there's a
that
leak
to
in the
me,
boat, buddy. There's a leak in the boat.
yeah, that's a little disingenuous to me. So,
yeah.
But that's a different topic. Let's talk about yesterday as quick so that we can get on to today.
I do want to say, like, in terms of the audience, though, like it seemed like the atmosphere seemed great. Again, I'm not there. It was a comment in the chat earlier, but it was great. I'm assuming that gentleman Charlie Parker was out there, but
yeah,
it sounded like though, like when I was watching online, it sounded like they had that room mic turned up, because there was times when I couldn't hear the commentary very well. Yeah, so it seemed like it was a little pump up that volume, guys. You know what I mean? So
well, listen, hey, that's we need the first people in the world to do that. That's makes sense to me. But you could tell by the player engagement that there was enough there to get them amped up too. It wasn't they weren't faking out the players. The players were in the arena. So
let's talk about that for a minute, Mike, because Charlie says he was there. Let's chat about the engagement side of it, because it seemed like there was a lot of
it's over.
It seemed like there was a lot of animation there, and I don't know if it was like, come on, boys,
you're trying to keep atmosphere in a one-sided arena. Okay, so I kind of get that. I'm already tired of Team Europe guys out there jumping up and down with their arms swinging, and the second match of the day, Filler jumping into David Alcade's arms, or it's okay. Enough, guys. Just it's a little bit of a sport. Let's keep a little bit of the circus out of this, because when you're doing that in the second match on day one, it gets old really fast. Not for the fans in the arena. And the players play to those fans, and they should, and that's fine. But if you're watching, you're like, really, do I got to spend 3 days of watching Jason Shaw put his hand to his ear and walk around the table with his arms spread out and do this kind of thing with the crowd 17 times
let me tell you, I'm about to go get you a jersey, buddy, with those moves. We're about to line you up.
It actually gets kind of boring really fast.
Call me crazy here,
if
Mike.
you're in the crowd, it probably doesn't, because you've paid the money and you're in there and you're drinking beer and you want to get hyped up. I get it. But as a fan watching, it's like, okay, come on, enough already with the hugs and five guys with their arms around each other taking a bow.
Well, would you feel that? Do you think you would still feel that way if you knew it wasn't already out of line and a little bit over? Like, if you had hope in the Americans, wouldn't there be some part of it that would say, "Don't shut him up, Shane. Go shut him up, Federer."
It's a little more demonstrative, because every match is important and they're close, and every win is like vital, and so they're then it's a little more of the fist pumping. Yes, we're still in this type of thing, but this is all just window dressing, and it's kind of boring.
Well, it's the same show. If anything else, that they need to come up with.
I mean,
they need to come up with different moves, because the arm thing, when they're doing
it's the same stuff. It's like, okay, we've watched this movie before. The sequel's never as good as the original. So find something else to do, or treat it a little bit like a business. I mean, chest pump each other a little bit if you want, but then get the hell off the thing. Get off the arena. I mean, the dancing and it just it gets a little bit much for me. It's the same with when a U.S. when a U.S. guy would win a big rack, and it's like, it's one rack out of potential 9. Give it a rest. And that's, to me, it's part of this thing where their heads aren't completely in what they're doing. They can't be if you're doing that. If you're,
you mean the Europeans?
or the American, it doesn't matter. And the Europeans, they're free rolling. They have no problem to make a shot, so
Look,
they don't dog any. So, and the
I'm going to
U.S.
say this:
makes
like, if I would tell the Americans, if you don't like it, go shut them up.
this,
Go shut them up.
and we'll get to that too, because
And unfortunately,
this is
you
a leadership.
can't. Yeah, and unfortunately, those guys can't go and do it. It's a failure from the top, in my opinion. And it's just I get it, like it being a little cringe and it being a little, a little too much all the time, and it is a little repetitive. Not a little, it's a lot repetitive. But it's a once a year thing. I think the Americans go and embrace it on the same end when it comes to it being in Orlando. I mean, Sky and Federer famously were calling for 2 beers while they were getting their ass kicked, and so
Well,
it's like,
listen, we saw it at the Reyes Cup. I mean, the U.S. Team Rest of the World won its first point on the last day or the second to last day in a team match, and they took off their shoes and climbed on the table. Okay, that's
that was embarrassing.
That would be embarrassed as one of those players to do that. It's like, wait a second here, we're losing 8-1, getting our ass kicked. You're going to do, and then it's the circus is more important than the competition, and I'm getting tired of the circus.
Well, I wouldn't mind the circus along with competition. I don't want just a circus though, because
I want the circus. Like, with the crowd.
There has to be sport first, and that's the one thing that seems to get lost in all this. No, it's not. Well, it's not right now, especially when it's so far out of line, and it has been out of line. And it seems like after day 1, 4-0, I've seen this story before. I've seen this show before, and I was even looking at. Listen, we got a lot of great fans that watch the show and that engage all over social media. One of them is Jenny Ann, and I feel like she's very like she's number one, she loves USA, but two, I feel like she's also very like she doesn't react too much to the bullshit of everything. And I saw a comment from her where she was just like, "Seems like the spark is gone in the event," something along those lines, Mike. And that's what it's felt like leading up to it. That's what it's felt like watching yesterday. That's what it felt like after the second match yesterday.
That's why I said I think that it's in trouble to the extent that they really need to sit down in a closed room and figure out how to fix it.
I asked Ray this yesterday, Mike, and I'll ask you the same thing. Who's to blame? Who's to shoulder for what's going on out there?
You can't dump it all on one person. I mean, it's Matchroom is doing the best it can to.
Are they though, Mike? Are they? I'm not. I can't mind that at all.
They put Federer on our team. They're getting ready to put Jesus on our team. They got him. Whatever. They got him their Airbnb. Whatever they're doing.
But you're also like empowering them to go and have this buddy system that has set up the Americans for. There's no second wave of guys coming in because of the way things are currently. So like you've set that standard, you set that up for them along with that. You've also notoriously pissed off or burned bridges with a lot of Americans with a lot of talent over the years as well, Mike, who don't go and show out, compete, and travel around anymore either.
Right.
Like I get what you're saying, but you also have to be fair to the other side of it as well. Like you can't, just look the other way when it comes to, this elephant in the room either.
Yeah, no, of course, some blame to Matchroom, but they're also this is their marquee event they're put on. They're trying to make it as big a party as they can and make it a fan event and fan engagement and fancy dress and all this. So they're putting the time into that part of it. They're putting the time into allowing the teams to they've told teams who they can and can't take in the past. Also let them pick who they want to pick in the past too. So again, I'll go back to it. I think the biggest mistake has been to go to captains, which for two reasons. One, it was way too easy for Team Europe, and it took way too much away from Team USA. Sky is a great guy and is passionate and I'm sure works hard, whatever, but this is not his job. This is not what he does. This is not what he trained to do. This is not, So you can get guys together and you can say we're going to practice hard and we're all a team and we love each other and yada yada yada. But then when things start to get a little sideways, he's not equipped to bring it back to center.
No,
And
I'll agree with that for sure.
So it's not fair to dump that on someone like him. And there's no,
I
Europe
don't know
has a
fair
couple.
if
Europe
I
has
can
had a
say
couple.
fair because it's not he listen, even they said it that they wanted it. Sky and Jason wanted it. They went to Emily, they asked her, "Hey, listen, we want to be playing captains again for this second year in a row, even after the dumpster fire that was last year." So I don't want to say like it's fair. If you welcome that on, then the criticism is going to come with also the praise and the successes as well. Along like
What's
if
he
you
going to
want to be
say?
center
No, I
stage of
don't
the
want to do it because I'm not equipped. I mean, of course he thinks he can do it. So maybe after year 2, Manstrom says, "Well, we understand you guys probably want to do it for year 3, but we don't see this working out so well, for the
you think, yeah,
Americans." So
why would
listen,
they turn down the money?
If Europe wants to, I'm sorry.
Why would they turn down the money? You don't think he wants to pick up an extra 20 grand heading into Christmas?
Well, they're not getting double. They're not getting the player's share. They're not getting the same share as a player. They're getting less. They're not getting a full share. Jason's not getting 40,000 if his team wins. Sky's not getting 20,000 if his team loses. They're getting less. So, but they're still
getting additional monies for going out
a
there
little bit.
being
Yeah, but that's it's not their decision. Match, we're not doing it anymore. Then that money goes to somebody else. So yeah, would Shane and would Jason and Sky say, "Sure, I'll do it again next year"? Yeah, if Matchroom says that's not an option, then what are they going to say about it? So, I think that's a decision that Matchroom needs to consider making. And listen, if Europe wants Jason to stay captain, let him stay captain. If the U.S. wants to get a non-playing captain there, let him get a non-playing captain there. Pay for it.
I think one thing that's shown over the years, just in pool in general, is that pool players don't know what's best for them. Pool players know what they want.
Of course they don't. Of course they don't. And we shouldn't expect them to. This is not the way they're wired by the nature of who they are and what their talent is and what they do with it. We kind of know that. So, it's I think that part of the blame goes to Matchroom for things like that. Part of the blame, again, it's hard for me to say the blame goes on Skylar because I don't expect him to be a master captain, coach, motivator, or whatever. It's too much to expect of him. But the lack of that kind of trained leadership, to me, is what has allowed this to already be turned. And it's not, this team practiced for 2 weeks and this team practiced for 5 days. That I'm talking about too. Could the U.S. benefit from more practice? Yeah, if the right guy was running the practice, if the right person had a system in place and a schedule in place, then yeah, it makes a difference. I go back to this. How many days did Team Asia play together? How many days did they bond? How many pictures did you see of Aloysius Yap and Duong Kwok in a hot tub? None. They got together for 2-3 days, screwed their shoes together. Duong can't even communicate with any of those guys, and they drilled the Europeans and the Europeans.
But they're better though, Mike. So if they're better, then you get more of a pass. Mike, the Americans aren't better; they're far worse.
Right.
It shows it on rankings. It shows it on tournament performance. On you name it, they
need more work.
They're not on the same playing field.
Right. So they need more work, but that extra work only helps doing the right work, and it's paying the right dividends. Just 5-7 more days of practicing together, to me, I don't know if it made this team a whole lot better than they were yesterday. Why would that have made them better? Because they hit balls for 7 more days together. If there wasn't a real purpose for what they were doing and there wasn't real structure in what they were doing and things like that, what difference would it have made? They've been playing pool for 7 straight.
Well, I mean, obviously, it cannot be this just hanging out. And so I get it has to be purposeful and meaningful, right, and with structure, which those guys clearly can't go and handle on their own, because listen, it doesn't, they got together in Florida, but it seemed like they got together in Florida to sign a lot of merchandise, and now they go to the UK, and now they start actually having meaningful practice sessions, you know? And so like, listen, I get what you're saying. Like, and there's no perfect formula or recipe to figure out where you say you add this and add that and boom, what's going to come out of the oven is a team who can actually compete. But the thing is that it would put them in a better position than what they are currently. So like if you already are behind the eight ball in terms of your talent compared to the other team, in terms of your work ethic, in terms of your preparation, all those things, it's just like, okay, at least go in there and put it out, work the guys. You may not have as much talent as them or successes on the tournament circuit, but go out there and out fucking work them, if nothing else. They want to go and have Thanksgiving with their families and all. Listen, I get it, but if this event isn't important to you, where you have a sense of pride to be able to put everything else, you know, to the side for a couple of weeks, then you may not be the guys who deserve to be out there. I hate to say it, you know, and I know that there's this like, especially online or you know, around them in terms of a bubble of like wanting to go and protect them or be nice or all these. Listen, you didn't perform, period. You know, Oscar's in town. He says, "Hurry up! We're going to Starbucks. I'm not buying, but I'm burning you on that bet." So, and actually, I'm going to try to get Oscar on the show a little later on, maybe for a post game. But yeah, it's just like, listen, if you want to be out on that stage, it's not all this. Oh, you did a good job. Come on, boys, you got it. Let's go. Yeah, I believe in you. No, listen, that was like that for the first couple of years. That ship has already sailed. We're already so exhausted and worn out. You let the fire burn out of this event, and it's on those guys who are out there as well. You know, Matchroom is great at putting on the circus part of it, right, and going and building it up. But the sports side of it has gone way down. You know, and I can at least buy into it if there was guys who at least bought into the process or who worked hard or showed some passion or showed some fire. Yesterday, Mike, I saw guys after one match after another walk out of there, and it ended with Tyler looking like a dog who had their tail tucked between their legs. You know,
right?
It looked like he was just done.
Tyler's one of those guys that I know has passion for this. I know works his ass off.
He plays. He takes pride in playing for America. I will say that about Tyler.
And so then to watch him go out there and do what he did yesterday, you know, nothing Matchroom could have done was going to change that. So that's on the team and on Tyler. You know, to me it goes to, you know, if we want to backtrack to the press conference, what did we talk about for the press conference? We talked about how we would love to see Team USA walk into this event pissed off, together, keep their mouth shut, don't buy into any of the bullshit, and play, you know, just go out there. This is a business trip, right? So we didn't even get through the press conference before it all went off the rails. Tyler's got to call out, you know, Team Europe against Filler. And then he goes out there yesterday and plays 3 cushion. Billy's got to, you know, try to stage a bet between him and another American player
who's not there
during the press conference. And then he goes out there yesterday and plays 3 cushion. And, you know, so they hadn't even started and they had already gone off the rails. They had already gotten their minds someplace where it wasn't supposed to be. Okay.
Yep.
So, you know,
that was the car wreck.
As far as leadership goes,
of how it ended.
If you had real leadership, someone who had you dialed in, ready to go, or like, you know, we'll say Johan until we're blue in the face, someone like that in there, that press conference doesn't happen. You know, it doesn't go that way. He would have smacked those guys in the back of the head for even starting to get off track of what their mission was and what their approach was supposed to be, right? That's what they need. Listen, these guys, their firewall is as high as the European guys. Aside from our number 1 and 2, you know, we're outmatched in terms of pure talent, but not like 7-0 outmatched. It's not that bad. These guys can play pool. These guys can win matches. These guys know what they're doing, but they're not prepared to go out there and do it and stay focused and dialed in and make the shots. Their heads are all over the freaking place. And then they hang their heads. They laugh when they miss shots. They shake their head. They do it. It's all wrong. They need someone to smack them in the head and tell them you're doing this all wrong every time they do it.
Mike, so, I'm nominating you for 2026, my man.
No, because no one would listen to me. But that's what they need. And Matchroom's got to see that. Got to figure out how to make that happen. Starting to get far enough off the rails where it's going to be hard to get the train back on the tracks.
I think it'll take years to get the train back on the tracks because you have to completely break it down to build it back up. I feel like at this point, and the problem, especially with the culture that is now, and those guys who are in there, they're hard to get through. It's a group of guys who know better and who have a hard time listening. Whether individually or as a unit, right? If Federer's the one having to be the guy to set structure in place for practice sessions, like that's sad. Like that's sad, man. Look at the Europe. The Europeans have 5 guys who just say, or at least have 3 guys who say, "Hey, listen, this is the way we do things. You're going to come on in here and you're going to do it this way. Period. End of story." Where the you turn on Federer's social media, I can kind of see a little bit of YouTube. You see guys just joking around, dicking around, signing 9 balls to sell for $100. Joking and laughing and making goofy faces at I kept like, God damn, go out there and just focus. Go out there and just get ready like fucking professionals.
That's the thing. It's focus. It's focus and purpose. If you don't have it.
Something's got to give, because like you, I am fearful for how the event's going. And it's reflective, I feel like, from the online attitudes of fans and even just casual pool fans and even diehard pool fans that I'm friends with. I've had many conversations with people, whether online or in person, where they're like, I'll watch, but I mean, like, I'll tune in, but it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same. And so I don't. And Raymond said yesterday, he's like, look, I think Orlando would sell out. I hope so, and I hope it does. But
it will.
The enthusiasm
can't keep leaning on that with the same result. Sooner or later, it's going to bite you in the ass, and you better stay at least a step ahead of it, because once it gets to that point, it's going to be too late.
Well, one thing about sports, Mike, is that, and if you watch any sport, you always talk about great coaches being able to make halftime adjustments. You mentioned Skyler not being equipped for that, and that's fair. But like, it's also, if you're putting him in that position, then you're already setting Team USA up for failure. And his philosophy of I'm going to defer to the team on all things isn't working, and you have to, and at a certain point, you just have to own that, take that on, and make conscious, specific decision to say, we're going a different direction. And as of right now, nobody wants to hurt anyone's feelings, or nobody wants to be the bad guy, or nobody wants to, or nobody knows what to do in order to turn the ship around. Obviously, those 5 guys cannot do it amongst themselves. Someone's got to go in there and take control of that and build it back up, because right now it's cringe at best, and it ended in day 1 with 4-0, and ended with the 2 guys who barked the most during that press conference, who got their ass kicked by a couple of rookies, and that was and you would think that was the matchup that you wanted if you're those 2 guys in particular, who are notoriously the weaker links of the American teams. And it was a systematic failure from the Americans as a general, in general, I should say. But yeah, it sucks, man, because like I told Ray last night, at the beginning when the team showed up, a couple of racks in, I'm like, oh yeah, I had that same fire and enthusiasm like I've had before, where like I'm excited. And then even at 2-0 in favor of USA, I just had this feeling where I'm like, I'm not too worried about the Europeans. Like, I'm just not, even though David had just scratched and he missed the ball on the side, his wheels are falling off. I'm like, I still feel like I trust them more, And then as soon as it turned 2-1,
it was over. Yeah, no, it's the thing, that I've noticed watching. There's a couple things, technically, that stand out in the difference every year to this, is that when it gets into a safety battle, we get beat to the shot. And the break, I don't know how many. Well, we couldn't get a second shot after the break, or we couldn't get the one ball, whatever. I hear the same thing as after each day's losses the last couple of years, right? But
Yeah,
the Europeans just know how, when you watch their safety play yesterday, it was lock them up and demoralize them that way. Even if there was a shot you probably could have made, right? The U.S. safety play to me is always mediocre at best. And when you see David a little bit shaky, when you have two rookies out there who are playing great because they've got no pressure on them, if you would put pressure on, if all of a sudden if you had a way to lock those guys up 2 or 3 times in a row that they went to the table and demoralize them that way and get them to give you a little shaky that way, that's effective. That's effective way to play. We don't seem to have that ability, and I know these guys know how to play safes, and it seems like I don't know if Europeans are just faster, smarter, whatever in terms of gauging table speed and things like that, because they don't miss when they're playing a safety. They don't miss position as badly as we miss position. So it's all like, okay, are they? Someone told me last year they went and broke the tables down after the event, and the European table had heaters under the slate, and the American table didn't. Is it something that simple? Are they just smarter, knowing how to learn how to?
If you saw that photo with Tyler yesterday, I think it was before they even started the match, he had heaters underneath the table on both sides.
Okay, so what I'm saying, but for some reason or another, we just don't get the simple things down, like table speed and safety, and it's just those little cracks. Sky's push out.
So maybe if you prepared a little better, maybe you might be a little more comfortable.
Possibly. So, but that again, that's like Raven said, there's a difference between practice and preparation. You wouldn't have had to practice another 2 weeks, maybe, if those 5 days you did practice really had some meaning to them,
Sure, yeah. It can't just be a bunch of frat boys getting together. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's just so much like that just, man, they can't seem to find ways to put pressure on the Europeans. And the Europeans are better players, but listen, if you put the screws to them, they can feel pressure like anybody else. And we just don't seem to be able to put.
But they're stealing, and nobody puts heat. Nobody puts heat, and the guys who are weaker on the B and C players for the Americans look up to the number ones, and the number ones go and check out after a certain point when they realize that they're outgunned, outmatched, out anything, So like it's not the same. Like all their hopes, they're like they look up to these guys like, come save me, but they can't even save. They know that they're up against it, Mike, and then they're down before you even know it. You're down 4-0, and there's no faith in those guys left and right. They may like each other, they may not like each other, they may pretend to like each other, whatever, but they can't get the job done. And I'm not saying there's not pieces in place that could if things shifted around, but the way it is now, it negative. We've seen it year after year. Didn't work out. Appreciate your service. Don't forget to pick up your check on the way out. It didn't work out. Don't call me. We'll call you.
See, I think that again, that comes to leadership. With the right leadership, Shane can play better. Federer can play better. They won't hang their heads. They won't. We've seen it. We saw it in 18 and 19. We saw a different Shane than we've seen. We saw a different Sky than we've seen. We saw, you can't take those 2 years and shove them off to the side and say that there's not a direct correlation between their ability. They were a worse man for man, a worse team then than they are now. They didn't have
and that was a great European team that they beat, by the way. That was a
great European. Yeah. So listen, you can't tell me that it can't be done, and all you have to do is look at it and say, when did it get done? Okay, this is when it got done. How did it get done? Well, this is how it got done in 18 and 19. Oh, maybe we should frickin' try that again.
Crazy idea. Weird. Never would have thought about that one. Listen, I don't know if that would be the solution. Certainly couldn't hurt any, but clearly the way it is now, it just isn't working out. and
No,
it's not even. This is what it was last year after day one. And listen, when I was there in Orlando, it was great. You're in the atmosphere and arena and all these things, and you feel the moment. It was cool, and low ceilings, loud noise, all those things. It was awesome, when you're in there. But then, like, from the sports side of it, when they were singing Journey and the lights were out, okay, cool, But it was like, but then sports comes back on, and you're like, okay, come on, you're gonna lose again. Come on, go.
Well, listen,
And
last year there were one dog run out away from being 5-5 after 2 days. So, it wasn't a catastrophe last year. This year is, catastrophe because it's not, the matches aren't even close.
Ray says Panozzo preaching. Mike, let's jump on into the matches for today. We were kind of predicting how it would look in terms of
tattoos that say love, hate.
There you go. Yeah. We need some kind of heart in here. Team matchup is on deck first, Mike, followed by the first singles. Josh is going out there for Team Europe. Federer's going out.
Yeah, you and Raymond called this yesterday, which knew that US had to come out strong in the first singles, so it was either going to be Federer or Shane. Not surprising that it was Federer, and so not surprising that Jason said, "Okay, Josh, go have at it." So great matchup. So if we can win the team and Federer can, shut Josh up for a match, then all of a sudden, we have some hope. So it just depends on what kind of guys walk into that arena today. What kind of, who talked Tyler off the ledge last night? So when he comes out and plays singles today in the team match, that he's dialed, I don't know. I don't know, what the proper way to handle Tyler is, whether it was to leave alone, whether it was to go, you need
a therapist, and you need Jesus conversation after that look. Because have you seen that GIF, Mike, where like it's two basketball players and they're coming back from the other side of the court, and the guy's got his head down, and the point guard goes and lifts up his chin. That's what somebody needed to do for Tyler yesterday, because
I feel bad for him.
When he missed that 9, he had this look on his face like he just got news that his dog died and he's like 8 years old.
Well, to me it looked like when he got down on the 9, when he missed it, he must have been thinking,
"Don't miss it.
I don't know if I can make this, because I've already shown that I can't make easy shots." So it was painful to watch. And listen, it'll say a lot about him if he turns up today and makes some shots and runs out or plays a great save.
Hold on. We'll jump back into that matchup here in a minute, into the Moritz and Tyler one, because I got an interesting opinion on especially the Moritz one. Give me the Josh and Federer take. You think Federer can actually bounce back and beat the guy who's had his number over the years?
Well, you beat him to win World Pool Masters last year. Whatever. Listen, they're two of the best players. They're Aloysius right now, but if you look over the last 5 years, the two best players in the world. So can he beat Josh in a race to 5? I kind of think he's got it. He
can, sure. But if you read on social media, all you would say, well, it's a race to 5. They're professionals. Of course they can beat the Europeans. It's all. I think he can, sure, but will he? Do you have faith that the Federer you saw yesterday can go out there and beat the Josh that you saw yesterday? Because I'm not a buyer.
I wouldn't bet on it. I wouldn't bet on it. But this is Jason called him out at the press conference about this is a tournament that takes battle. They all have the skills. What it takes is battle. Okay, that's we'll find out who's got it, who doesn't. So how do you get it?
You know why I know? Listen, either you're born with that's something either you're born with or you're not. Period.
I'm not buying that, because we've seen Federer show battle. We've seen Federer show in other matches and other events and other finals.
Individually, sure, but not in the Mosconi Cup. You have it. Not even whenever he didn't even have that. Whenever he was out there on Europe,
you're either born with it or you're not. So I think he's born with battle. He just hasn't shown it in the Mosconi Cup. So is that maybe it's two different bottles. Who the hell knows? But
well, like I said, team play, individual play is apples and oranges, in my opinion, anyway. And so
but this
clearly
isn't
you've
team
seen that
play.
over the years.
It's a singles match. It's a singles match between him and Josh. It's not team play. It's him against Josh.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
it's
the Mosconi Cup. It's the Mosconi Cup, And so Federer has notoriously disappeared at the Mosconi Cup, famously disappeared over and over again at the Mosconi Cup, no matter what team that he was on, no matter if he had 5 strong Europeans with him or he had 5 Americans with him, it didn't matter, And so Josh is the kind of guy who is in his head, who he respects quite a bit, and there's a mutual respect there. They both know each other's game. It could be 5-0 either way. It could be 5-0 for Federer, it could be 5-0 filler. But if you were to tell me, I get a bet on whatever side I want, considering what I saw yesterday, I'm betting on Filler, because Filler looked like he was a guy just getting ready for a fight. He was already punching himself in the face, just getting more and more and more amped up. He was starting to get laser focused and laser dialed in and hitting the back of the pocket. I know he had one little bad miss, but other than that, he looked like he was leveling up as the day went on, and he's going to continue. I would bet he continues to as this tournament goes and progresses, and so and given the fact of how in Mosconi Cup, I've seen Federer go and shrink. I've seen him not be that world number one. I've seen him not be, that number one guy on a team. I don't got a lot of faith in this matchup, Mike. I get why you do it. Just same reason why they started the team match with Federer. But the problem is, and especially if by chance, if there's any way in hell that Team USA loses that team match and then they lose that number 6 matchup with Federer and Filler, boy, oh boy, Mike. You're gonna then you got SVB come out.
Then the plug's getting pulled for the rest of the day, because they're not letting Team Europe get past 7 today. 7's the number. Okay, the minute Team Europe gets to 7, the plug's getting pulled on today. That's a guarantee.
So it could be over. It could be over in 3 matches.
What's that?
So it could be over in 3 matches today, is what you're saying.
It could be over in 2. Oh, yeah, 3. It could be over in 3 matches. Yeah. The minute Europe gets to 7, they'll pull the plug.
Look, if you're going to take on that leadership role amongst those guys, if you're going to push memorabilia for ahead of the event, and you're going to sell Team USA merchandise, then you also have to remember to go and step up when it's time to actually play. And I get it's 9-ball and it can be gaffy and it can be all these things, but you as the number one guy on that team have to step up. You have to step up in meaningful points, not when you're down 9-1 and getting a W that way. That doesn't matter. You got to go and save those guys out there. If there's one guy to go and do it, it's got to be Federer. You're in that position playing the singles. You knew they were going to send Josh out there to go and try to put a nail in the coffin already. And so now it's time to go and step up. No matter what, I don't care if he outbreaks you. I don't care if he outmoves you. You got to figure out a way. You got to dig deep and just find a solution for it, no matter what, period. Because you like, that is the reason why they brought you in. You were supposed to be the savior here for Team USA. Following the singles, Mike, is turning into doubles. Filler and Shaw, which I think is one of the best historically Mosconi Cup pairings against Shane and Sky, former World Cup of Pool duo. What's your take on that matchup, Mike?
Shane and Sky just got to walk into that arena, not make eye contact with them, not look at anybody in the crowd, because Jason's going to milk that match. Jason and Phil are going to milk that match for everything that they can. They're going to be dancing after they make the 1-ball. They're going to be whatever. And you just got to be able to fade it and get it, put it aside and stick to your business. They're going to have to do that, because they have to get ready with the full treatment in that match, because they're going to get it.
Think the Americans can take them down?
Listen, it's there's 4 great players in that match. Of course they can. It's like any other match. This is not Josh against Billy or something like that. This is a match where you look at it and say, of course they can freaking win the match. Would I bet on them? No, not the way things went yesterday. Of course you wouldn't bet on them. But can they? And if Federer beats Filler, does that give Sky and Shane a little more pep to their step? Yeah,
sure, sure.
Go out there. Don't engage with anyone. You know what drove me nuts yesterday? among many things, what the hell are fans doing going to the players during a match and talking to them at the table, talking to them at their chair? If I was a captain on that team, if Bjorn was on that team, he'd have gone out there and smacked the people around, told them, get the hell away from my players while they're playing. I'm watching this stuff. I'm like, it's carnival stuff. And it's just people's minds everywhere but what they're supposed to be focused on. That's why if Shane and Sky go out there, I want to see them look as business-like as they can look. And then see what happens after that.
Look, they got out broke. Did the Americans?
No doubt.
Those two guys are ruthless. I trust them in terms of their decision making in the Americans, like as far as the moving side of it and being able to defend yourself when it comes to those two guys in particular, because they are very shrewd in that department. But from an execution standpoint, listen, I mean, Shane looked decent, so I can hang my hat on that. But Sky, especially when he, I'm going to go back to that bank shot that he made that was just brutal. I mean, I cannot believe he hit the ball that bad. If he's snatching the cue like that, Mike, and especially if you find yourself in a further hole, because then you're just going to continue to feel it. We've always thought about how great he was. He looked like
he was just
about
hoping
to lose
and praying that whole match.
Yeah, he was.
He was just hoping and praying.
He was trying to keep it looked like he was trying to keep his head above water. Is all he was trying to do. That's what it looked like. He was
that last push out in the last game. Just like, really?
Yeah.
He was just wanting to get out of the arena as fast as possible.
But see, that the problem is that's your leader, and people can see that. People can see that. Your teammates can see that, and everyone knows it. Whether you'll never go, but like your actions go and show that, and you can tell guys who fight versus and guys who are just lost out there. You saw that in Tyler taking on that bank shot the other day as well. With that, I couldn't believe he played it that bad. Like no cue ball, no object ball. Neither one of them was good. And it's just like when it comes to those two guys, even though they are American leaders, the two guys from Europe and that doubles, they smell blood. They can continue to get in your head with their antics. They are better out there in that environment. They got their whole home crowd behind you as well. There's no reason for me to think that Shane and Sky can go and win that match.
That's the challenge Shane and Sky have to take on. Shane and Sky have to take on this. We're going to go out there and we're not going to let them do the shit that they like to do. We're just not going to let them do it.
But what are you going to do? You're not going to tell them to shut the fuck up or anything.
You got to figure out how that happens. Whether it's you demoralize them with some great safeties, whether it's you break and run out, whether it's you don't take flyers on, whatever it is. Your mindset has to be, they're not doing this shit on my watch. I'm not going to let them dance in front of me. You have to have that attitude.
Look, we've had some great players over the years on the show talk about the Mosconi Cup. And last year I had Albin on, very well decorated Mosconi Cup. I'm trying to get him on this year as well. But I remember a match in particular that we were breaking down, and I don't remember exactly who it was, but the scoreline was like 4-1. And the guy who was up 4-1 took a flyer. And Albin made it a point to say, I can't believe he took on that shot in that spot. And I'm like, you're up 4-1. He said, it's a race to 5, And the mentality is just different with those guys. The mentality is very, very different, And so you have to go in there thinking about grinding every ball. And I get so wanting to be loose and free and whatever. But one thing that I really appreciate, especially about the Europeans, and I noticed that from David yesterday, it's like when David is struggling, and he can struggle, and he did struggle, David's safety play and decision-making can go and get him back to center.
Right. Right.
Because he doesn't make those emotional decisions to try to, I'm going to swing back the other way to try to be a hero and make a knockout shot here in this match.
Yeah. 100%.
Last singles of the day, Mike, Moritz versus Tyler. This is brutal because last time we saw Tyler out there, it was not good. He missed a 9-ball. That was it. It wasn't even. I don't even know what you would call it. It's better than a hanger for a pro player, And he missed it by a country mile. And it wasn't just the only miss that he had yesterday. They had a ball hanging where he didn't get out. Didn't even run 2 balls. He had another one where the rookies let him off the hook. And missed, I think it was like a 4 or 5 ball in the upper right. I mean, it's just a list of things He's going out there against the rookie of Europe in Moritz. What are your thoughts on this matchup, Mike?
Moritz got to be licking his chops.
Oh yeah,
Moritz, we allowed him to get really comfortable really fast, and he's too good a player to, so he's going to be as, free and easy as he can be, unless, and we keep going back to this, unless miracles happen and we win a couple of the first couple of matches, and there is a match 8, then maybe he feels a little more, I don't know about pressure, but he knows it means more. There's more dialed in and has, so we're going to find out how Tyler comes back after a day of complete misery. That's going to be, we're going to find out. We're going to find out what he's made of.
What's your optimism like, Mike? Do you think he can? Do you think Tyler can get a W there in that spot, no matter the scoreline?
I don't know. I wouldn't, again, I don't think I would bet on it, but I believe that he can play that match if he goes out there and keeps his head screwed on tight and doesn't get his mind thinking about other shit like the minutes he had yesterday about whether or not, the press conference went well or whatever. If he sticks to making one ball at a time, like Ray said, with you, I like this analogy. This is one pocket 9 ball. So if he plays it that way and he can turn it into a close dogfight with Moritz, sure, he can win. But I just want him to play well, win or lose, because I don't want to see this.
No. Listen. That attitude is done, over with. It's gone, Mike. I don't give a fuck if you play well anymore. You got to get a point. Period. End of story. There's no more of these moral victories with these guys anymore. You're down 4-0. You've gotten your ass kicked for the last 6 years. There's no more of this play well, guys. We'll get you a trophy, son. Get him a juice box. No, fuck that. You need to go out there and win.
I'm saying that because he's got more matches to play, and I want, we need him to feel like he can make balls again, right? So yeah, would I love to see him win if they both dogged the shit out of it? Man, yeah, but will that make me feel better about his next match? No.
Moritz does not look like a rookie. I think that Reyes Cup is a big +1 for that kid in particular. Huge +1 for him. And now he doesn't get it. He did.
It was last year for Mickey too.
He does.
It was last year for Mickey too, because Moritz didn't play great in the Reyes Cup, and neither did Mickey. I
thought outside of a missed 9 ball, Mickey was solid. I mean, that 9 ball was pretty brutal, but I don't think Mickey was the worst guy out there, that's for sure. But he also didn't get a lot of opportunity being the rookie, So at least for me, but for Moritz, he looks about as cool as a cucumber, Mike. He looked like he is just, I don't even want to say made for that environment, but he just looks like he doesn't get one way or the other. He's just staying the course, and he can put his feet up, comfortable, no care in the world, doesn't feel any heat, no pressure, none of that shit, Mike. He was playing solid.
That's what having a team around you winning all their matches does for you. And I think Moritz is that way anyways, and is going to be that way for a long time. But yeah, let's see him with more pressure on him in this atmosphere. And do I still think he played great? Do I think his wheels are going to fall off? No, but can he make 1 or 2 kicks that could allow you to win a match? Sure.
Look,
it doesn't take many mistakes in one of these matches.
No, it does. It does for the Americans. In the Americans, David missed an 8 ball. David scratched on an 8 ball and missed another late rack ball. And they pretty much spotted them 2 games, and they still couldn't win. So yeah, they need a lot of mistakes. Tyler could not get out on racks where he was given hangers to start with, right? Whether positionally or otherwise. And then he ends the day missing that 9 ball. It isn't, even if Moritz makes 2 mistakes, I would spot your 2 mistakes, and I would still take that kid from Germany. He breaks better. He makes better decisions. He is not as mentally fragile as Tyler is, at least right now.
Right.
The fans are just gonna bury Tyler with any little mistake. Tyler can't even afford to make one.
Yeah, no, he better strap his boots up really tight, because he's gonna walk into it today.
I think it's crazy to send him out there in that spot after what happened yesterday. I would have much rather have sent Billy out there in that spot. At least give him a day to let him get comfortable. You have to protect him because his game looked shitty yesterday, and then mentally he looked like he was defeated yesterday, Mike.
He has to play. He has to play at some point today. So, and the thing, you hide someone too long, and then it's really hard for
Okay, Mike. But if you were
easier or harder,
if you were to go say who had the worst day yesterday out of all 10 guys, who would be the number one guy?
Yeah, for sure. So maybe you should have tried to protect him in a doubles match. Maybe he went in there last night and begged everybody to play singles today because he needs to get back out there. And I don't know what their conversation was like last night that got him into this spot, but I'm guessing that he was a big part of that decision.
Oh, I'm sure, and because he strikes me as that kind of guy where I want it.
Listen,
sure,
he's got pride.
But listen,
he's got pride and he's got confidence, and so
it didn't look like he had much confidence yesterday, Mike. It did not look like he had much confidence to end the day, or even at the beginning of the day, or even in the middle of the day. There was no part in there where I thought he had any kind of confidence. I'm sure in the overall, and sure he may have gone in there.
I'd imagine a lot more confidence in Billy, where you would have put Billy out there in singles and felt better. I don't know. Billy missed the same 9-ball Tyler missed. Billy got through a rack.
Yeah, but it didn't. No, listen, Billy's miss was awful too. But at least with Billy didn't look like somebody ran over his damn dog. Tyler looked like somebody just. It was sad. Throw a towel over his head or something. You know what I mean? Like just get him out of there. It wasn't even embarrassing at that point. It wasn't even cringe. It looked sad for that guy, and I'm sure he stepped up and said, I do want to go out there and play and get some redemption and whatever else. But it goes back to the saying, listen, pool players don't know what's best for them. Now, I'm not saying I do, but I know for damn sure I would not put him out there in that spot, Mike, because I don't care who it is that he'd be playing. He's an underdog. And even though we talked about going into the Mosconi Cup, him having upside as far as being able to take down bigger guys, right? That's the Tyler who's like, it's a close match. The Tyler that showed up yesterday is a basket case because you cannot miss that 9-ball at Ali Pally in that fucking spot. You cannot. And not only that, but it ended the day. That's all anybody's been talking about. That's the last thing on that guy's mind, Mike, was that 9-ball. And it was so bad of a miss too. Like you have to protect him against himself, and I get who are you going to put out there? I would have much rather, listen, Billy is not the straightest shooter of all time, but Billy can also grind. Billy's also got that grinding mentality if he needs to, sometimes he can be a little too much of a shotgun in his own right. But that Tyler that happened yesterday, Jesus, man, there ain't no chance in hell I'm sending him out there in a singles. It was bad. And the problem is that if he has it's either you win or it's just going to get worse for him because there's no moral victories here at this point because you could go and lose Hill and it doesn't matter because all anyone's going to be talking about and all that's going to be on his head is all those misses that he left on the table yesterday. And there was a lot of them, a whole lot of them. And in the day, Mike, we got Pius and David against
Billy. I think Billy maybe, might have been a better choice, but you got to remember Billy yesterday also missed the same number of shots Tyler is. It's just that 2 of his misses shit in. so it looked a lot better.
Well, sure. Yeah. Well, but I think for that spot, listen, the nerves of making that 9-ball were unreal. And especially given how much of a liability you are, like that everybody knows that you are. And then you go out there and write a check in the press conference, and then you go out there and dog it. It was just like, man, that,
not good.
That's not the way you want it. That is not good at all, And so you have to get up, Mike. And the problem with the Europeans is they can back it up. And you're not going to back it up on Facebook. You're not going to back it up in a press conference. You're not going to back it up anywhere else. They can back it up in the arena on the table, and they've shown it. It was while I agree Billy did have some misses, like I said, there's just certain things about Billy that I would go and value more over Tyler, at least as far as being able to just leave it alone and leave it there, or a better, or if nothing else, at least still go out there and fight. Where even as Tyler was coming back to the table and he had that, like, Statue of Liberty look on his face that we've seen over the years, you just had a feeling as you were watching it. You're like, I'm still not sold that he's out. And Billy didn't leave him bad on that 9 ball, Mike, either. You know,
No, no, not no. It could have been a little straighter, but yeah, that 9 ball those guys make 99 out of 100 times.
and make it 101 times out of 100, Mike. You know, like it was bad. It was real bad. Anyway, Mike, the last doubles of the night is going to be Pius and David against Federer and Billy. What do you got on that matchup?
We got a chance. I mean, I don't know what to expect from Pius and David. I mean, it's not their best pairing for sure. So you got to figure you got a puncher's chance. Does Federer plays well against Filler? Does he have some confidence going into that match? I don't know. I think Federer can help control Billy a little bit on shot selection, so Billy doesn't take any wild flyers. I don't know. It's a match that doesn't look that bad for us.
Are we talking about the same match here?
Well, I mean, really, you could put any two, like you said yesterday, and it's true. You could put any European into any situation today, and you'd feel good about their chances. So yeah, is this pair? Here's a list of the 10 options for European doubles pairing. Where does this one stand? Top 5? I don't think so.
No. But the style for me for the Americans is what I'm more concerned about, because Billy's more of a feel guy, Federer's more of a process guy. And the one thing that I can count on with those two guys is that they'll at least be somewhat loose, because they can, they cannot give a fuck if they're losing. They're okay with losing and being down. And so, we saw it the other year where Federer's asking for a couple of beers. And I'm not saying it'll be like that, but I'm just saying, like, they wear it differently. Where Pius and David are out there to do a job, and there's nothing between those guys where I would, like, even though out of all 5 Europeans, those two guys to me played the worst in Pius and David, because they made a lot of mistakes. So that you would give a +1 for the Americans. But listen, they can also compartmentalize. On top of that, they're sitting on a pretty good cushion of a score line. You'd imagine it's going to be close to the same if they even play this match to end the day.
Well, that's the thing. If it gets to this match, we got hope, right?
Yeah. But
if it gets to this match, it's 2-2 on the day. That's the only way it gets to this match, is if it's 2-2 or better for that point. So, now at least they go into this match with a little bit of hope. So if this match gets played today, I'll take my chance.
They better hope it gets played today. Matchroom better hope it gets played today. Because if not, this is gonna go down as one of the most embarrassing Mosconi Cups in history, and there have been a lot of battles.
That was at 2013, so we'll talk about embarrassing then.
Well, okay, fair enough, Mike. Fair enough. But look, it's Charlie Parker says if they stop at 7-0, do we start tomorrow with a team match or continue with Moritz and Tyler? It'll start with a team match, and then it'll pick back up into. Yeah, at least that's how it was at Reyes Cup. So, Mike, give me the score line to end day number 2 at the Mosconi Cup. How do you think it's going to end today?
3-1 Europe. 7.
No, the overall. So it would be 7-1.
7-1.
7-1.
Yeah,
I agree. I think they call it early. Throw in the white towel, boys, because I think those Americans are cooked. And I think it's just going to get worse before it gets better. So, yeah, I'm with you. 7-1 to end the day is what I got it at as well. So I got to run, Mike, because I got to go meet up for lunch with Oscar and Dez and Franco and the fam. So you guys go and hang out. I'm going to watch the Mosconi Cup. Mike, are you going to be around for a post-game show a little later on?
Post-game show is tonight here, right?
Yeah. following play?
Let me know. Give me a
All
buzz
right.
and I'll let you know where I'm at.
Depending on the time, we'll kind of play by ear. Either way, we'll try to do something. Go enjoy the Mosconi Cup or don't, whatever you want to do. But 4-0 Europeans. Let's see what happens. We'll see all you guys a little later.